USS Alfred is considered the first flagship of the United States Navy to actually go into service. In 1775, while the American colonies had not yet declared their independence, it set sail against the British Empire's navy, the most powerful in the world. This ship was not just a war vessel, but a political statement. America wanted to be present at sea as well. Alfred was a warship converted from a merchant vessel. This clearly reflected the young American state's limited resources but strong determination. Instead of engaging in direct confrontations with the British Navy, Alfred and similar ships took on raids, disrupted trade routes, and carried out morale-damaging operations. This asymmetric naval warfare approach became the first step in the American naval doctrine. USS Constitution, 1797. The USS Constitution is not only the most famous ship of the United States Navy, but also a national symbol. Launched in 1797, this heavy frigate was a sign of the U.S.'s intention to establish a permanent and respected navy, rather than just a temporary naval force. The ship's thick oak hull caused British cannonballs to bounce off during battles. This event earned the ship the nickname Old Ironsides, and quickly turned it into a legend. During the War of 1812, Constitution's victories against the British Royal Navy ensured that the U.S. was taken seriously at sea. This ship is significant not only for its physical durability, but also for its psychological impact. While the British Navy had been considered invincible for centuries, Constitution challenged that perception. For the American people, this ship was a symbol of a young nation's gaining confidence. USS Monitor, 1862. USS Monitor is the ship that changed the course of naval warfare. Built during the American Civil War, this armored warship effectively ended the era of wooden ships. With its low-profile hull and rotating gun turret, it was completely different from all the warships of its time. Monitor's greatest innovation was introducing a defense strategy based on technology rather than maneuvering. Thanks to its armor, the ship was resistant to enemy fire. The rotating turret allowed its firepower to be directed in any direction. This design laid the foundation for modern warships. The battle between USS Monitor and CSS Virginia is considered the first duel between ironclad ships in history. After this battle, navies around the world quickly began abandoning wooden ships. The U.S. Navy was one of the early powers to recognize the strategic importance of investing in technology. Although short-lived, the Monitor represents a turning point in naval warfare history. Today, the modern Navy, ranging from destroyers to aircraft carriers, traces its origins back to this ship. USS Maine, 1895. The USS Maine is a ship that left its mark in U.S. naval history more by the impact it created than by its presence on the battlefield. Its sinking, following a massive explosion while anchored in Havana Harbor, Cuba, in 1898 led to a profound change in U.S. foreign policy and naval strategy. Although the exact cause of the explosion could not be definitively proven, the American press and public blamed Spain for the incident. The slogan, "Remember the Maine," quickly spread across the country, and the U.S. entered the Spanish-American War. As a result of this war, the U.S. acquired overseas territories and became an intercontinental power. The significance of the USS Maine lies in demonstrating that the Navy can be used not only to win wars, but also as a political and strategic tool. After this event, the U.S. realized the necessity of having a strong and constantly ready Navy. Modern battleship programs accelerated, and overseas operations began to be planned. USS Arizona, 1916. USS Arizona is one of the most powerful emotional symbols in the history of the U.S. Navy. It sank in a matter of minutes during the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, after its ammunition depot was hit. On board, 1,177 sailors lost their lives. This attack led to the United States officially entering World War II. In this respect, the Arizona is not just a warship, but a turning point. Until that day, the U.S. pursued a relatively isolated policy, but from then on, it was at the center of a global war. The sinking of the Arizona clearly demonstrated the vulnerability of battleships and the decisive role of air power in naval warfare. After this event, aircraft carriers became the main striking force of the Navy. Today, the monument built over the wreck of the USS Arizona serves as both a war grave and a silent reminder of the bitter lessons of naval warfare history. For the Navy, this ship represents a costly yet instructive loss. USS Enterprise, CV-6, 1936 USS Enterprise CV-6, is the most legendary ship of the U.S. Navy during World War II. It participated in nearly every major naval operation throughout the Pacific War and was one of the few aircraft carriers to survive the war. Enterprise fundamentally changed the nature of naval warfare. Wars were no longer fought ship to ship, but by aircraft launched from hundreds of miles away. Its critical role in the Battle of Midway halted the advance of the Japanese fleet and turned the course of the war in favor of the United States. This ship is important not only for its military achievements, but also for fully establishing the aircraft carrier doctrine. As battleships receded into the background, aircraft carriers became the centerpiece of the Navy. By the end of the war, USS Enterprise became the most decorated American ship. Nicknamed Big E, this ship is one of the most important platforms symbolizing the U.S. Navy's identity as a global maritime power. USS Iowa, 1942. The USS Iowa is considered the pinnacle of battleship development. Entering service during World War II, this massive ship stood out from other battleships of its era for both its firepower and speed. With its 16-inch, 406mm main guns, it could conduct coastal bombardments, while also moving fast enough to accompany aircraft carriers. Iowa-class ships were built at a time when the era of battleships was nearing its end. Nevertheless, the USS Iowa proved that battleships still held strategic value. It supported ground forces during operations in the Pacific and protected aircraft carriers against enemy surface threats. Its modernization and recommissioning during the Cold War highlight the ship's robust design. Equipped with missile systems, the USS Iowa became one of the rare examples where classic gunpowder merged with modern technology. USS Nautilus, 1954. USS Nautilus is a quiet but revolutionary turning point in naval warfare history. Entering service as the world's first nuclear-powered submarine, Nautilus completely changed the rules of submarine warfare. Thanks to its nuclear reactor, it could stay underwater for months, crossing oceans without the need for refueling. This made submarines not just tools of defense or ambush, but elements of strategic deterrence. The voyage of USS Nautilus beneath the North Pole was both a technological and psychological achievement. With this demonstration, the U.S. announced to the world that it could establish absolute superiority in the depths of the seas during the Cold War. Nautilus became a symbol of invisible power. Today, the foundation of the deterrence doctrine, made up of nuclear ballistic submarines, was laid with this vessel. USS Nimitz, 1975. USS Nimitz is the backbone of the modern U.S. Navy. This nuclear-powered aircraft carrier is designed as a floating base capable of projecting a country's air power anywhere in the world. Nimitz-class aircraft carriers can operate for months without docking. This capability gives the U.S. an unparalleled global intervention ability. The presence of a Nimitz ship in a region often creates a deterrent even without engaging in combat. These ships do not just carry aircraft. They also serve as the Navy's center with radar, command, electronic warfare, and defense systems. An aircraft carrier strike group is a fully independent military force on its own. USS Nimitz is the clearest symbol of the U.S.'s naval presence from the Cold War to the present. Naval power is now not just a weapon, but a tool of global balance. USS Zumwalt, 2016. USS Zumwalt is one of the most extraordinary surface warships ever built by the United States Navy. Its sharply contoured hull design was developed to significantly reduce radar signature. In this respect, the Zumwalt deliberately breaks away from the classic battleship appearance. The Zumwalt class aims to combine artillery power, missile systems, and electronic warfare capabilities on a single platform. Thanks to its advanced sensors, the ship can detect surrounding threats from very long distances. The level of automation is extremely high, which significantly reduces the crew size. This ship demonstrates that modern naval warfare is now based on stealth, information, and network-centric command. The true significance of the Zumwalt lies not in the present, but in guiding future naval designs. USS Zumwalt is the tangible embodiment at sea of the U.S. Navy's concept of striking without being seen. USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78, USS Gerald R. Ford, is the first ship of the newest aircraft carrier class in the U.S. Navy. It was commissioned in 2017 and is designed to replace the Nimitz class. The biggest difference of this ship is that it represents a completely new generation of technology. Why is it so important? It uses EMALS, Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, instead of steam AAG, Advanced Arresting Gear, which can safely stop both heavier and lighter aircraft, fewer crew members. Operating costs are reduced thanks to automation, greater sortie capacity. Daily flight operations are 25% higher. Compared to the Nimitz-class strategic significance USS Gerald R. Ford is the adaptation of the classic floating airbase concept for the digital and automation era. This ship is designed to secure U.S. air dominance at sea for the next 50 years. In short, the Nimitz class was powerful, the Ford class is future-oriented. USS John F. Kennedy, CVN-79. USS John F. Kennedy is the second ship of the Ford class, and has been developed based on the experiences gained from the first ship. While the fundamental systems are the same, it has a more mature design in areas such as software, maintenance access, and power distribution. This ship demonstrates that the Ford class has moved beyond being experimental and has become standard. For the U.S. Navy, Kennedy is positioned as a reliable platform for high-sortie, long-duration operations, particularly intended for extended missions in the Pacific. USS Enterprise, CVN-80. CVN-80. Enterprise is a further optimized version of the Ford class. Modular manufacturing techniques were used more intensively during its construction. The goal is to reduce costs while shortening production time. This ship demonstrates that the U.S. Navy has redesigned its aircraft carriers, not only from a military perspective, but also in terms of industrial sustainability. The name Enterprise has always been given to pioneer ships in naval history, and this ship is also seen as a symbol of digital naval warfare. USS Doris Miller, CVN-81. USS Doris Miller is the first aircraft carrier named after the African-American sailor Doris Miller. In this sense, it holds historical and symbolic significance. It is expected to be the most advanced ship in the Ford class technologically. It is being built with greater capacity for power generation, radar systems, and future additions such as laser weapons and next-generation sensors. CVN-81 is regarded as the fully future-ready version of the Ford class.